I'm at 2470 Cecilia Drive in Villa Hills, Kentucky, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that would be concerning to the buyer. The access is a floor clean out in the front left of the basement. If you were facing the house, it's underneath a little section of cabinetry. And we're going to try to go both directions. And we'll go upstream first and push back into the house to do some of the stuff under the floor, and then we will go back out and go downstream towards the street. So here is the clean out. Try to turn the lens off a little bit here. So first we're going to try to go upstream. There we go. Going back into the house, and this would be cast iron on the inside, and then once we get out of the house, when we're going downstream, should switch over to clay based off the age of the house. Cast iron is a very common material for this age, but and it is not a bad material, but it does have a finite lifespan. Can never really tell how thin or thick the pipe walls are with cast iron. Just kind of looking for any visible structural issues and functionality. So here we are going into a floor drain right here. So we may have to run some water in the stationary tub to rinse the camera back off. About as far back as we can get, and all this is just stuff from the floor drain. Sometimes it's good to flush it, the floor drains out with a little bit of water. Make sure that the trap is full of water, and also because the water that goes through there, if it's from condensate, goes through so slowly that a lot of times you can have build up. So I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to run a little bit of water in the stationary tub. See if we can rinse the camera lens off a little bit. Alright. We have the stationary tub running. It should be coming in basically right next to where we are. You can see how the water's kind of coming back. It should be coming in from the right here, and that's what I was saying. If you go straight, right here, that is the floor drain, and so there's no issues found. You can tell how the buildup is because the water just doesn't flow through there quick enough to rinse it out. So sometimes it's good to just dump a bucket of water or something down there, or some people empty their hot water heater, flush the hot water heater, and that'll be a good thing to flush that out. But cast iron is a little bit more susceptible to what they call soft clogs, which is like too much toilet paper, wet wipes, things like that, just because you can see how rough the inside of the cast iron gets in the rust, and so it's a lot easier for those things to catch. So wet wipes are the biggest problem because they don't disintegrate like toilet paper. So if you get wet wipes stuck in here, they don't break down. That toilet paper would break down into nothing and eventually go on down the line. But the wet wipes do not do that. And so we're back at the clean out. We've inspected we'd inspected all the upstream stuff on the interior pipe, and that all looked really good. So now we're going to try to get the camera to go downstream, out towards the main. Let's see. Well, sometimes it's a little tough to get the camera to make the turn for the same reason. The cast iron gets pretty rough. But as you can see, a couple feet from the cleanout, once you get out, a couple feet from the cleanout, it turns, as soon as it gets out of the house, it turns to clay, which again is normal, common material for this age of home. The most common thing we see in clay lines is root intrusion. It's just due to the way when the clay lines are put in, tend to have where the connections are. Sometimes that packing will kind of shrink a little bit and start allowing some root intrusion. Usually pretty small amounts of roots start getting in and they can grow larger, but it's a good idea to do some preventative maintenance. You can see there's a little bit right there coming in right out of joint. Those pipe sections are only about 3 feet long, so there's usually a good deal of opportunity because those pipe sections are so short. So you can see that little bit of root intrusion. It's not anything abnormal. It's very, very common. So a lot of times when it's like this, if it's that small amount, you can treat it with a chemical. There's a chemical called Root X that you can get in there and kind of foams up. You put it in usually before you go to bed at night. It foams up, it catches on some of these roots, and it'll burn it back and kind of keep them at bay so that they don't cause any major issues. As you can see, they're not down to the flow line. It's not quite to the point where get pretty close to the point where you might want to do a cleaning to see how, yeah. The closer we get out to the tree, you can see how there's stuff caught up a little higher. And the flow line is open, but this is going to need a cleaning. Trying to keep the camera lens clean now. You can see, again, this is very common. Pretty normal to have some root intrusion like we discussed. You just need to do some regular maintenance on the line to make sure that they don't cause any future major issues. And so I would say at this point, because there's a couple spots where the roots are getting close to where things are starting to catch on them, and that's how it starts a blockage, is things will start to catch, and then they will build up and then cause a backup. So far the line looks good structurally. Just needs some maintenance. There are permanent solutions. You can have the pipe lined or replaced, but this is very, very common, and people have been doing maintenance on these type of lines for decades. Yeah, the line looks good structurally, and it looks like once we got past about 82 feet, we're probably out past the, yep, here we are at the main, so I'd say we're out past the, once you get far enough away from the drip line of the tree, the roots can't reach very far, and they stop. So basically from about 10 feet out to 82 feet. You have some roots that, you know, kind of start out thin, progressively get worse, and then taper back down to thin as you go. Trying to make sure, see if I can get this to rinse off a little bit. But we're at an intersection, so the line may be, there you go. Let's see. How I didn't have it on there, it pushes it away and then it pulls it right back down onto the lens there. Trying not to bounce. The reason I'm bouncing around so much is I'm trying to get the but you can see we've been running with water the whole time and the line is open. No low spots or damage. The camera lens is only about a half an inch off the bottom of the pipe, so any low spots would be highlighted. So yeah, here you go. So ending at about 82 feet, and like I said, starting pretty close to that 10-foot mark inside. We have the, I'd say medium root intrusion, medium to heavy spots, because that's pretty heavy. And so yeah, I'm going to recommend that a cleaning be done. Hopefully they can get either a 4 or 6 inch double knife in here to clean the roots out well enough, and then from that point on you can use, like I mentioned, a chemical root killer. The brand name is Rudex, but they make a ton of different brands. You can use that about once a year or so is usually what they call for. And then I would recommend after about 5 years or so to do another inspection, just to kind of see how the roots are growing, and check to see if you need to change the maintenance schedule at all. Probably one of the closer edge there, 53. Trying to make sure we can get this cleaned off, but it doesn't want to. Good. So I'd say about 45 to 46 feet. This is the worst one as far as coverage. See how there's already actually a little bit of debris up about halfway. See it kind of hanging there, a little bit of debris kind of hanging right in the middle of those roots, and so it's probably the most severe one right there. 45 feet. looks like they really start a little bit here, about 37 feet. And it's the 34. There's a tiny, tiny bit of some finger roots there. There's one. As we keep getting further away from the tree, they should taper off, and that may have been the beginning at about 31 feet. So. We do have some root intrusion right here at the transition, right at the transition between the cast iron where it changes into clay. So there's some root intrusion pretty much from about 14 feet all the way out to 82 feet in some form or fashion. But again, something that can very easily be taken care of with regular maintenance. Unless, you don't want to do the maintenance, you can opt to do a permanent solution, which would again would be a liner. Which would, because the line is in such good structural shape, they would just basically put a kind of a balloon. They push a balloon through there, and then they harden it with steam, and it just creates a thin layer of basically plastic on the inside of the old pipe, and keeps the roots from being able to get in at those joints. Or you could dig it up and replace it. Sometimes the costs are relatively close to being the same for those two options, but but most people. What's been going on for decades is that it's very easy to maintain these lines. I would talk to the owner, because the owner's probably been dealing with this for years. And so again, you can have it cleaned once. That's what I'm going to recommend, is having it cleaned initially before taking occupancy, and then once a year put in a little chemical root killer that helps keep the roots down, and then check it in about 5 years or so with another inspection to see how fast the roots are growing, or if the maintenance schedule needs to be adjusted at all. See how well the chemicals are doing. You may be able to get away with longer intervals. But again, the line structurally looks great, and so a little bit of maintenance and it should be good to go. So that'll end the inspection at 2470 Cecilia Drive in Villa Hills, Kentucky.